certain particular stories, I like to bunch them all together and get them all out of the way in one shot. I don't like to mix them in with the happier ads, I should say, okay? I call these darker ads, right? Breaking. Major country goes full Trump and bans refugees, right? Then we have Muslim professor has a Christian student suspended for blasphemy. The dean has 4 words. Should she be fired? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, those are 4 words. You think those are the 4 words? And I'm skipping over that horrible one. I did this earlier. Did you see this? Liberal mom gets reality check after seeing who walked into the ladies' room in the Walt Disney World of Disney World. I don't even have to show you that one. You know what happened, right? Wish all liberals would get that wake-up call. But let's get straight to it. These are, I'm going to say, okay, these are the 3 stories we're going with. Liberal judge releases ISIS terrorist on bail. Should judge lose the license? We'll go with that one, and that one. All right? First, we'll start off here. At this point, there's no denying that the liberal judges are trying whenever they can to destroy our country. Right? Blatantly in front of us. A resident of Phoenix, Arizona has been released from prison after meeting the bail set by a liberal judge, Derek Thompson, who changed his name to Abu Talab Akarmariki, was already indicted for supporting a terrorist group ISIS, reported on ABC 15 Arizona. Thompson was arrested by law enforcement last December for plotting to carry out a terror attack. The FBI had been monitoring his actions for over 2 years before the arrest took place. The would-be terrorist was charged with attempting to commit misconduct involving weapons, assisting a criminal syndicate, ISIS, and other related crimes. Thompson was being monitored by an anti-terrorism task force, and he was caught searching Google for how to be a martyr, how to commit jihad, and how to kill civilians. He also searched for the most powerful handguns in which churches host a midnight... Hold up. He also searched for the most powerful handguns and which churches host a midnight mass. Court documents describe Thompson as an avowed jihadist and his frequent ISIS websites and supported them publicly on social media. The suspect also was caught attempting to illegally purchase a rifle online, and the transaction almost went through, but it ultimately failed because the sale would have gone across state lines. Thompson was unable to legally purchase a firearm since he was a convicted felon. Having been convicted of armed robbery in 2005 as a result of this crime, he served over 7 years in jail. He began supporting ISIS immediately upon release, because that's what they're teaching them in jail, probably. All of the available evidence points to the conclusion that Thompson was planning to attack a Catholic church late in the evening in a sick attempt to secure his path to Allah. It is simply absurd that any judge would consider it acceptable to post bail for this man. It is clear that he is willing to die in a terror attack to take as many lives with him as possible. Why would this man appear before a court? He is clearly pressing danger. He is clearly oppressing... Why would this man return to appear before court? Right. Why would he return once he's out on bail? He is clearly a pressing danger to the community at large. The only conclusion is that the liberal judge wanted to see harm done to their community. Really? The only conclusion is that the liberal judges want to see harm done to their community. You really think that's it? I don't know if that's it. I think that they're warped and they're maybe being paid. I don't think they really want to see harm because they know that's going to come back on them. Multiple judges have blocked the travel ban imposed by Trump, despite the fact that the ban will prevent future attacks while improvements on our venom system are implemented. It appears that liberal judges want terrorists to be walking our streets. Well, I hope not. This judge needs to have his license revoked. It's clear he does not care about the protecting the safety of his or any other community, which should be his number one goal of a judge, by the way. Okay, let's get to the next story. So this is the guy that was released. Muslim professor has Christian students suspended for blasphemy. The dean has 4 words. It's typical for Muslims to overreact and do anything in their power to stop infidels, even if the Muslim is a college professor taking on a harmless Christian student. A Muslim professor at Rollins College in Orlando took offense to the views uttered by a Christian student in her class and ran straight to the dean of safety at the school to complain. Rather than investigate the case, the dean suspended the Christian student because he was making Rollins College unsafe. The Muslim professor deemed the Christian student's questioning of Sharia law to be dangerous hate speech, and the political correct dean of the Florida College completely caved to the Muslim professor's will. This cannot be tolerated in the United States. Once a student dared to challenge its teacher about radical Islamic ideology, the Muslim professor claimed she was forced to cancel class because of the Christian's comments made her feel unsafe. It was then that the Rollins College Dean of Safety was alerted by the teacher. Professor Ariq Zurafi teaches a course entitled Muslim Humanities at Rollins College. The Muslim professor did not stop with just getting the Christian student Marshall Paulson suspended from the college. She also filed outrageous allegations against him with the local police department. When the class resumed, Zafari delved even further into evil radical Islamic culture when an unidentified Muslim student stated during the Sharia law discussion that gays should have a specific body part cut off. All of this was in the wake of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. I'm going to reread that because that made no sense. Probably my fault. When the class resumed, Safari delved even further into evil radical Islamic culture when an unidentified Muslim student stated during the Sharia law discussion that gays should have specific body parts cut off. All of this was in the wake of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. When the Dean of Safety decided a student was making dangerous comments that needed to be addressed, he did not talk to the Muslim student who fantasized about chopping off body parts of gay Americans, but the Christian student who railed against such horrific ideology was condemned. The Muslim professor, according to the Poston, only gave a joking response to the student who voiced a desire to see such an atrocity carried out. The Rollins College campus is a dangerous place, all right. It is not fit for Christians or decent people who respect the First Amendment rights of all. Poston said it did not take long for him to realize that the Muslim professor was incensed with deep anti-Christian beliefs. The suspended student said that Zafari also mocked Jesus and called the crucifixion of Christ a complete hoax. It is very off-putting and flat-out odd. I've traveled the Middle East, lectured at the Salhaddin University, and immersed myself in Muslim culture for years. Honestly, it reminded me of some of the more radical groups I've researched when abroad, Poston said. Professor Zavari gave Poston a failing grade on an essay that was a big part of the grade in the course. According to the Christian student, the Muslim professor would not even explain why the essay warranted such an extremely low 52% grade. I was upset, understandably. I've never gotten anything less than straight A's, so I was really interested in finding out how to possibly improve or at least understand the grade, Poston said. Is free speech dead in America? Political correctness cannot be allowed to dominate our society any longer. Professors like this should not be allowed to teach in our country, period. Let's get to the next story. I'm getting sicker by the minute. Breaking. Major country goes full Trump and bans refugees. Good. This is an upward positive. The mainstream media will not admit it, but more and more countries are seeing the logic of President Trump. If this keeps up, we may see a world great again someday. Look at that. Donald Trump is making the world great again. Wow. Greece has reached its limit, and it is refusing to accept any more refugees. Greece has simply no capacities to cope with the additional arrivals of refugees, said Mr. or Mrs. Mozalis, Greece's Minister of Migration, via RT. The politicians of Greece are pleading with their overlords on the European Commission to stop the tide of refugees to their once great nation. They cannot handle any more so-called refugees. The people of Greece are being held hostage, and this trouble proves a failure of the European Union. The European Commission is a body of 28 non-elected bureaucrats who manage the European Union. These are now pressuring Greece to re-implement the Dublin regulation, which forces the countries where refugees first arrive to bear the burden of bedding and housing them. Greece has no power to stop this from happening, as other members of the European Union cannot control their own borders. Instead, Greece needs to plead with European officials to spare their small country. Angela Merkel, and Chancellor of Germany, wants to force Greece to bear the burden of the refugee problem. Germany is an insular country, but it is the goal destination of many so-called refugees. The Dublin, so it's a so-called destination for the refugees. The Dublin regulation forces countries on the border of Europe, such as Greece, to bear the brunt of their maligned plan. Sorry, I destroyed that ad, that whole paragraph. If Greece does not accept the refugees, then they will be hit with a new austerity measures, which will destroy the Grecian economy. The only hope left for the people of Greece is to follow in the footsteps of the United Kingdom and leave the EU. The Grecian economy has already been destroyed multiple times since joining, and they have lost control of their borders. The leaders of the European Commission have no concerns for the Greeks. They instead want to continue their plan of flooding low-skilled, low-education refugees into Europe to destroy its character, making the European people desperate and easier to control. We need to take note of the problems facing the continent of Europe. This is the consequence of blindly accepting people who wish to see the destruction of your way of life, or simply do not care one way or the other. We need